Led the league in strikeouts for the second consecutive season. Here's the 2-1.
That is driven deep toward left field. Tuiasa Sopo is back to the track wall and gone.
Now on Sports Overtime, a pair of Cy Young Award winners squaring off in Detroit. The Yankees getting to Justin Verlander early. Could the Tigers do the same to CC Sabathia?
The Red Wings hosting one of the teams right behind them in the race for one of the two final playoff spots in the Western Conference. We'll have highlights from Hockey Town.
And the Pistons, losers of 15 of their last 17 overall, with an even worse record over the last 17 against the team they face tonight, the Bulls. We'll show you if they finally ended the skid.
But we begin tonight, and we'll spend most of the evening focused on the Wolverines. Thanks for staying up late with us, and welcome to Sports Overtime. Alongside Larry Figursky, I'm Casey Jones.
It has been the theme of the past 2 weekends. Michigan headed to the Elite Eight, to the Final Four, and now to the NCAA championship game for the first time in 20 years. This time, however, the Wolverines hoping to do something they have not done in 24 years. Win it all. Michigan earning its trip with a 61-56 win over Syracuse last night in Atlanta, and on a night when Trey Burke scored just 7 points. Now, unfortunately, CBS restrictions prevent us from showing you any of the highlights here on Sports Overtime. But by now, you know, Tim Hardaway Jr. leading the way with 13 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Mitch McGarry, another big night with a near triple-double, 10, 12, and 6, while Glenn Robinson added 10 more.
The Wolverines will now meet the top overall seed in the tournament, Louisville. The Cardinals coming from behind to edge Wichita State and end their Cinderella run in the opening semifinal Saturday night. Both teams held one final closed practice today in Atlanta prior to tomorrow night's championship game. And both teams also made their players available for one last media call.
Yeah, our Jack Doles met with the Wolverines again this afternoon, and he joins us now from Atlanta with their thoughts on the eve of the big game.
Larry and Casey, one thing that makes this tournament so unique and so difficult to win is the one-day turnaround. These teams have been playing all season long to play in this game. And in this case, Michigan and Louisville haven't played each other since 1978. But they've got 1 day to prepare. This is where coaches earn their keep.
We know we have to play a great game to beat Michigan. With 1 day prep, this is probably the toughest prep day we'll ever have with how many things they run. Fortunately, I know John very well, have gone back a long time with some great games at West Virginia. I know what he's all about, and that's about great things.
How difficult are these one-day preps, especially when you're getting ready for a team like Louisville?
It's really hard. Kind of got to take a crash course on the team. And so, we've done it a few times, especially in these past couple of weeks. They're a really good team, and we're just going to have to do the best we can to be prepared.
One revelation from today's media sessions is that Nick Stauskas, the fine freshman from Michigan, had a migraine headache in the win over Syracuse. That may explain his offer from the field and his limited minutes.
I don't know why. I don't know why they happen. Like I said, I've had them for about 10 years now, and I went to doctors for it, and we can't really pinpoint a reason for it. It kind of just happens. So I kind of take some Tylenol. Most of the time I try to close my eyes and get some rest, but obviously last night was not a time I could do that.
Both teams held their final practices of the season here at the Georgia Dome on Sunday, and they were closed sessions, which is no surprise when you consider what's at stake, a national championship, which, believe it or not, Michigan's John Horford has been predicting to his teammates for some time now.
Ever since I came here, dude, we're going to go to the national championship. I could feel it. One of these years, we're going to go to the national championship. I was like, Horford, you're crazy. We'll see. We just got to work as hard as we can to get there. But, I'm positive. I want to get there as well. And, we're actually here. And I talked to him yesterday about it, and I was very, very excited. And, it was just great just to see, our dream come true to actually have a chance to win one.
National championship has been the goal from day one. And, it's not a surprise, at least to me. I don't think to these guys either that we're here. A lot of hard work and effort, has gone into this. And it's not something that was given to us. It's something that was earned. So I feel that we have the right to say that.
For Michigan to make Horford a profit, they'll need Player of the Year Trey Burke to play like the Player of the Year. He struggled against Syracuse's zone, so expect him to come out and play with a big chip on his shoulder, something he's been known to do.
I hate to lose, so I definitely envisioned myself, going far in the NCAA tournament. As a kid growing up, and I've watched March Madness, every single year, and it's allowed me to become motivated to get to this point. Now that we're here, you know, it's definitely an exciting experience, but at the same time, we have to stay focused.
Michigan will absolutely need Burke at his best because Louisville's guards have been known to wreak a little havoc against opposing point guards. With the Michigan Wolverines at the Final Four, Jack Doles for Sports Overtime.
And we'll have much more from Jack in Atlanta coming up here on Sports Overtime, including his one-on-one conversation with West Michigan Wolverine and Kalamazoo native Corey Person.
And before that interview, there's one you really want to see. Michigan fans won't want to miss this one. Jack sits down with former Wolverine head coach Bill Frieder to talk about his infamous departure and/or dismissal just prior to the 1989 NCAA tourney. Of course, when the Wolverines won their last national title, and Frieder's thoughts on the man who dismissed him, the late Bo Schembechler.
Well, it's a clean sweep for Michigan's Trey Burke, today winning the Naismith Award, given to the nation's best player. Now, this award gives Burke all the major player awards, the AP Player of the Year, the Oscar Robertson Award, and the J.R. Wooden Award. It's exclusive company for Burke, the only other Michigan basketball player to do it. Cazzie Russell, the legend, won them all as well back in 1966. But, you know, Larry, I bet that Burke would trade all the hardware for a national championship.
I bet he would. The women's Final Four tipping off tonight in New Orleans. Like the men, the Louisville ladies trying to earn a trip to the title game after a huge upset win over Brittany Griner and Baylor, and then Tennessee. Fifth-seeded Cards facing the second-seeded California Golden Bears in the Final Four. After falling behind by 10 at the half, Louisville answering in the second. Antonia Slaughter from way outside, 3 of her team-high 18, cut the lead to 4. Then Louisville up 3, less than 2 to play. LaShia Clarendon, high-arcing triple, ties it back at 57, but moments later, Cards work it inside to Sarah Hammond for the lay-in and the foul. That put the Cards up for good. Louisville will now play in both the men's and women's national title games, ousting California 64-57.
On the other side of the bracket, a familiar matchup, UConn and Notre Dame. The Irish beat the Huskies 3 times this year, 4th time trying to get Skylar Diggins to that elusive national championship victory. That's Brianna Stewart for UConn. And a 9-point Husky lead just before the break, and then Kelly Ferris jumper. Literally at the break, UConn up by 10 at the half. Second half, Skylar Diggins with the D. This is going to be her first field goal make of the game. She struggled all game long, made it a 7-point game, but UConn going to pull away. Brianna Stewart, she had 29 points. She's just a freshman. Gio Ariemi going for his 8th national title. He is 7-0 right now in national title games. They win it. UConn does 83-65.
Now the Division II and III men's title games also being played this weekend in Atlanta. Despite only leading for 69 seconds of the entire game, the Drury Panthers, that's out of Missouri, edging Metro State to win the D2 crown 74-73. And in Division III, I know Calvin and Hope were watching this, the Lord Jeffs of Amherst knocking off the Crusaders of Mary Hardin Baylor 87-70.
In the pros, the Detroit Pistons have had a rough 17-game stretch, winning just twice in that time, but it's been even more rough against the Chicago Bulls. The last 17 times the two teams have met, Detroit is winless. In fact, they're winless in their last 18 against Chicago. Hope to break that streak tonight. Bulls jumped out early, knowing they could dominate this team. That's Carlos Boozer from Nate Robertson, 18-7 Chicago Boozer, 21 points in this game. But Jonas Jerebko keeping the Pistons in it. First bucket of the second tied the game at 26. And then Charlie V here on the pick and roll. Nice dish from Will Bynum. Big time dunk for Charlie V. Pistons led it 50-46 at the half. Second half, Bulls would never lead again, thanks in part to some tough Pistons D there with the steal. And then Jerebko all by himself. It doesn't get much easier than that. He finished with 17 points, 9 boards, 22 from Brandon Knight. 99-85. Pistons win it. They snapped that 18-game skid against the Bulls and an 8-game skid at home.
On the diamond, the Tigers hoping to complete a 3-game sweep of the still Derek Jeter-less New York Yankees at Comerica. Great pitching matchup today. Cy Young Award winners Justin Verlander getting the starting call for the Tigers. CC Sabathia taking the hill for the Yankees. But the Bronx Bombers got to Verlander here in the second. One aboard, Francisco Cervelli driving one up the gap in left center past Matt Tuiasosopo. That goes all the way to the wall. Ichiro Suzuki racing home all the way from first. Yanks let it 1-zip. In the second, again one on, and it's the 9th hitter. Jason Nix connecting off Verlander way back in left center, and this one is out of the yard. A 2-run blast. The lead was up to 3. Now, Verlander, that was all he would give up. JV went 7 1/3, 4 strikeouts, 7 hits, 3 runs, but Tigers struggle with this guy, CC Sabathia. He went 7 innings as well, gave up 4 hits, no runs, struck out 4. Fritz Fielder with 2 of those strikeouts. Yankees add 2 more here off Phil Koch in the 7th, and then 2 more off of Octavio Dotel in the 8th. The Yankees salvaged the season finale. They shut out the Tigers 7-0.
It was a great start to the 20th anniversary season for the Whitecaps. A walk-off extra inning win to begin the year and then a shutout win the next day to build on that. But since then, they've dropped 2 straight. Today, closing out the first series of the season against the Dayton Dragons. Fort Wayne in town tomorrow for a noon start. Top of third, scoreless game. That's Zach Vince single into center, bringing around Brent Peterson, who'd score from second. Made it a 1-0 Dayton game, and same score in the 6th. Seth Maheasprin. That shot off to right, and that's Brent Peterson and Zach Vince scoring to make it 3-0 Dayton. Dayton pitchers allowing just 4 hits and striking out 11 Whitecaps batters today en route to a 4-1 victory.
On the ice, huge game for the Red Wings today with just 10 left in the regular season. Detroit opened the day with just a 3-point lead on Phoenix for the final playoff spot in the West. Plus, the Coyotes had a game in hand. And with just a 1-point lead on St. Louis, the Blues paid a visit to Hockey Town. And, yep, it's that time of year, or so we hope. Octopi making an appearance at the Joe. Scoreless game in the second. Johan Franzen, pretty saucer pass here to the former Griffin, Gustav Nyquist, who tries to go upstairs, but Brian Elliott gets a shoulder on it. Stayed scoreless until late in the second. And then this, Chris Porter over the line, trying to find Patrick Borglund. Puck will end up just loose in front, and somehow it gets banged past Jimmy Howard. Porter knocks it in. It was 1-0 Blues, and take a look at it. The scramble in front, Danny DeKeyser just can't quite tie him up, although DeKeyser's played great. Wings had numerous chances late. Nyquist and Pavel Datsyuk here couldn't get it past Elliott. The Blues shutting out the Wings and dropping Detroit into 8th place in the West, 1-0 at the Joe. Now, the NHL holding a news conference earlier this morning in Detroit to officially confirm what we already knew. The Wings will host the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 2014 Winter Classic New Year's Day at the Big House in Ann Arbor. What we didn't know is that these are the jerseys the teams will wear for the outdoor game. The Leafs in their 1920 sweaters. The Wings actually in a jersey they've never worn before. It's a combination of the original Red Wing logo from the early 30s and the Detroit script used when the team first moved to Motown and was known as the Cougars and Falcons in the late 20s. The alumni teams will wear these jerseys. The Leafs from the 1970s. The Wings, well, they'll wear the old English D jerseys that they wore during the Winter Classic in Chicago in 2009. Should be fun.
After a week off, the race for the NASCAR Sprint Cup back underway at Martinsville with tensions between drivers still hot, even with the time off.
And on the links, on the eve of the Masters, a record-tying performance in San Antonio, and the LPGA crowning a major champion today. Highlights from golf still ahead.
And we go back to Atlanta. Jack Doles sits down with the guy that left Michigan just days before they made their 1989 championship run, Bill Frieder. That one-on-one interview straight ahead. You're watching Sports Overtime. Just prior to the 1989 NCAA basketball tournament, then Michigan head coach Bill Frieder announced that he would be leaving the Wolverines after the tournament to take over the head coaching job at Arizona State.
Yeah, that did not sit well with former football coach and then athletic director Bo Schembechler, who dismissed Frieder immediately, uttering the now famous quote, "A Michigan man will coach Michigan, not an Arizona State man." Today, Jack Doles caught up with the Arizona State man, who will now call the Michigan game on radio tomorrow.
Larry and Casey, Michigan is looking for its first national championship in basketball since 1989. That was a team that Bill Frieder put together, but was not allowed to coach during the NCAA tournament. Earlier today, I had a very candid conversation about what went down that year. Coach, you've seen this Michigan team play. You've seen this Louisville team play. How do you like this matchup?
I think it's a game that's going to go right down to the wire. I think both teams have great guards. And I give Michigan maybe even the edge at the guards because of Trey Burke, but they both got great guards. Of course, Louisville's got the 7-foot center, but now Mitch McGary's coming on for Michigan, and there may not be an edge there. And I think the advantages Louisville might have over Michigan is a little more veteran of a team. They were here last year, and they have great depth also, maybe even more depth than Michigan has.
We hear a lot of talk about veteran leadership in tournaments like this, but Michigan, with the youngest team in the field, has just been rolling here. How is it they've been able to do that?
You know what? I give the reason for that's Trey Burke's so good. He's a sophomore, but he's playing like a senior. He takes care of the basketball. He knows how to run an offense. He knows how to make decisions, whether to push it in transition or to set up. He can make big shots. He can get it to the rim. He finds shooters. He now has McGarry as a guy that can finish for him. So it's because of Trey Burke. He makes that whole operation go.
Do you like to see Michigan back on, at this level?
Oh, absolutely. I was very upset the way things went down when they fired Steve Fisher, and things that they said and did at that time, I thought set the program back a long time. And now they got a great athletic director in Dave Brandon, a fine coach in John Beilein. They've learned that you can be good in basketball as well as football, and they've given the basketball program the things they need to compete with on a national level. So I'm glad to see them here. I expect them here, and I think you'll see them here on a more regular basis.
That was your team that won that last national championship for Michigan. Is there a day that you don't regret, or do you regret those moves?
You know what? The only thing I would have done differently is not been honest. When word was leaking out I was going to Arizona State, I decided to be up front and say when the season's over, I'm going to, because I didn't want to lie to my team or to the media or to the community. I would have probably done that differently. But once I did it, I never looked back. I stayed positive. I rooted for Michigan. Coach Fisher did a great job winning those 6 games, and that national championship was a culmination of a decade of hard work. When I took that my second season there, we were 8-19, and we built it, and we had Big Ten championships, NIT championships, and the national championship was the next step. But I never was bitter about it. I always rooted for the Wolverines. I was upset the way things were handled when they fired Steve, but now I'm glad they're back, and I'm pulling for them.
Last question, how much did those words sting when you heard Bo say, we want a Michigan?
You know what, I always felt that Bo was envious of the fact that I did go to Michigan, had 2 degrees from Michigan, and he graduated from some school in Ohio. I thought that bothered him, and because there was no bigger Michigan man than me.
Oh, great stuff, eh?
Interesting take.
Some school in Ohio Bo went to. Wow.
Well, still ahead, Jack will sit down with a West Michigan Wolverine that is in Atlanta.
And our one-on-one conversation with Kalamazoo's Corey Person. That's next on Overtime. Calling out Bo. Wow. He is the only West Michigan Wolverine. He's played just 23 minutes all season, but he's also played a big role in the locker room this year.
And he's played a big role with the pregame dancing.
Yes.
Very entertaining. You may notice in Corey Person, the Kalamazoo Central grad and the 5th-year senior, is the guy leading the team dance just after introductions in that circle. And as Jack Doles finds out for you, he's played a big role in this big dance run.
Larry and Casey, it's been a great run for this Michigan basketball team. One of the silent storylines throughout the season has been the sacrifices made by the senior class. They get little to no playing time for the Michigan Wolverines. Well, earlier today I had a chance to talk to one of those seniors, Kalamazoo Central's Corey Person. When you come to a place like Michigan, is this even beyond what you dreamt?
This isn't beyond what I dreamt. I told Coach Beilein the first day I stepped on campus that I wanted to get Michigan basketball. My goal was to get Michigan basketball back to where it once was, that 1989 team, those Fab Five era, and the teams following after that. So this is definitely what I envision. I tell everybody that the only thing was I didn't think I was going to be around. I didn't think I was still going to be playing on the team by the time it happened. I thought it was going to be a couple years, after I left, but to have this quick of a turnaround from the time that I arrived on campus to getting to this point to playing on Monday night, it's just, it means so much. It's a blessing.
So how did you guys turn it around so quickly? I mean, you've got a very talented group of freshmen.
Yeah.
But freshmen aren't supposed to be able to make a ride like this, are they?
I think the freshmen have I just give them so much credit because from the moment they stepped in on campus, as many of the accolades that they had walking on campus, they bought right into everything that we were about as a team, as far as the character and the things that we cared about in this team. They stepped right into that role, and they had no problems with it. They didn't care about minutes, they didn't care about points or anything like that. At the end of the day, all these guys came from a background where all they care about is winning.
Well, the one thing they keep talking about is the seniors and how the older group who've lost their minutes have been so willing to take them in and how important that is.
Yeah, I think that was big on our parts, because I think easily if we would have, as seniors, if we would have just started pouting or distanced ourselves, I think that could have easily tore the team apart and made it the team and then the freshmen. And that's one thing that we made sure that we really focused on all year. We want to let everybody know we're a unit. It's not the freshmen, it's not the sophomores, it's not the seniors, it's the team. So we've been working with them, and we even told them that if you look at it from top to bottom, your class plays more than anybody, more accumulation of more minutes than anybody else. So this is just as much as your team as it is ours, because you guys probably play from top to bottom, play more minutes as a class than anybody else. So we've just worked as much as we can on staying unified and not letting anything separate us.
I know players love to play though, and so has it been difficult to accept that role?
Yeah, it's difficult, but at the end of the day, all we care about is a team. All we care about a team is winning. So when we win, that's all we really care about at the end of the day. You gotta swallow your pride, and and as a man, you gotta just look at the bigger picture and know that when you come to Michigan, you're a part of something bigger than just you. And that's one of the things that everybody knows when they step on campus, that this isn't about you. This isn't about what you did in high school. This is about Michigan. So when you come here, that's what you're buying into, and that's what when you sign on that dotted line, that's what you're committing to. So when we all signed here to come to Michigan, that's what we all said. So we knew that if it was our time, we were going to step up in our role. But if it's somebody else's time, then we were going to sit back and we were going to try to help them as much as possible.
You're playing Louisville for the national championship. How's that sound?
It sounds good. We've been, they're being a team that's been a top 5, top 10 team all year. So, of course, you see their games here and there. They have a tremendous press that we'll have to prepare for. But it's exciting. In order to win, in order to be the best, you got to beat the best. So, we wouldn't have it any other way.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Corey. And our all-access coverage of the NCAA National Championship game will continue tomorrow live on Daybreak. Jack Doles will have live reports from Atlanta beginning at 4:30 a.m. and we will continue on your 24-hour News 8 at 5 and 6 with live reports tomorrow as we get you set for tip-off of the National Championship game Monday night in Atlanta.
Caution, NASCAR fans, if you like wrecks and caution yellow flags, this is the week for you. The short circuit in Martinsville today. Find out who outlasted the final caution coming up next.
And while all golf eyes may be focused on the Masters, which tees off on Thursday in Augusta, there was a record-time performance today in San Antonio. Highlights from the Texas Open still ahead.
With such high tensions flaring already in the NASCAR Sprint Cup season, a week off you might think would fare the drivers well. Unless, of course, the double-digit caution track is what you have to come back to. Gas Booster 500, and it was quite the caution-filled race. This is with 15 laps to go. Kurt Busch lost his brakes heading into the turn 1, and he'd get into the wall, car up in flames. He was okay and would crawl out of the car. The race was red flagged for cleanup, though. And on the restart, with 8 laps to go, actually, this is Danica Patrick tapping Brian Vickers and getting into Junior, and Junior would spin out as well. But then, okay, this is the restart with 8 laps to go. Jimmy Johnson pulls to the point with Clint Boyer in tow, but Johnson going to hold on for this one. His second win of the season and 8 at Martinsville. Clint Boyer was second. Jeff Gordon finished third, and Casey Kane behind in fourth.
With the Masters set to tee off on Thursday, some of the big names of the PGA Tour decided to take the weekend off. Not all, but the rest of the guys, as the Doobie Brothers would say, down around San Antone. Final round of the Texas Open today, and a strange round for Rory McIlroy. Began the day 4 shots back, and here in the 11th fairway had to punch it out and found the bunker instead, but he would save par, and that was important as he came roaring back to chase this guy. Martin Laird, 120 yards out on the 12th. And that's a pretty shot. It would set up a birdie, which he would convert to go 11 under and open a one-shot lead. McIlroy then trying to chase down Laird, right side of the green here at 14. That's pretty as well. It set up a birdie to get him to 10 under and within one of the lead. But Martin clutched down the stretch birdie putt here at 17. That would drop him to 12 in the red. He would birdie his last 3 holes, finish with a tournament record tie 9 under 63. Martin Laird finishes 14 under, a 2-shot victory.
On the ladies' side, not only was a women's major on the line this afternoon in the Kraft Nabisco Championship, but so too was the Poppy's Pond Plunge tradition for today's LPGA winner. In B Park, the lady of the day here on the par 4 first hole, making the birdie to put her at 13 under, and then on the par 3 8th. Check this out. Park with the long birdie putt to go to 14 under. Shot a bogey-free 65 today. She would take the plunge into Poppy's Pond after winning her second major, the Kraft Nabisco Championship.
Dinah Shore would be mad nobody jumped in. Well, he said he wanted to return home for one more season, but wouldn't play for another team, and apparently he didn't get the offer from the Lions he wanted. Jason Hansen will tell us why on Tuesday. That's next on Sports Overtime. He made the announcement on Thursday, but Jason Hansen will make it official on Tuesday. The Lions' longtime kicker deciding to call it quits after 21 seasons in the NFL, all in Detroit. Lions have called a news conference for Tuesday morning. Hansen holds the all-time record for most games played with one team, 327, most field goals of 50 yards or more, 52, and is third in league history with total field goals, 495, and points, 2,150. We are down to the final 33 seconds here on OT. On behalf of our editor, Derek Hughes, graphic artist Matt Wolf, and the entire production crew, I'm Larry Figursky.
And I'm Casey Jones. We leave you tonight with why we all love sports so much. In the Nebraska spring game, young cancer patient Jack Hoffman scoring his first Cornhuskers touchdown.
That's awesome. Oh, that's great. Wow.